The American light truck market was shifting in the 1940s from being just a taller version of a standard car model to being distinct models of their own, presuming they made both cars and trucks. GM's Chevrolet AK Series and GMC CE Series trucks were often considered the first such light trucks, introduced in 1941 and carrying into the post-war era, to be replaced in 1947 at Chevrolet by the Advanced design. In basic form, they were 197 inches long on a 116-inch wheelbase, although longer 126 and 137-inch wheelbase versions were available. The 3.5-liter, 216 cubic inch stove bolt overhead valve straight six carried over and produced 90 horsepower, while the GMC version was called the New Design, and light-duty variants were powered by a 3.7-liter, 228 overhead valve straight six with 93 horsepower, with a bigger 4.1-liter 248 and 4.4-liter 270 cubic inch versions being offered in heavier-duty variations. Naturally, both were offered as a pickup, delivery panel van, suburban carry-all van, and canopy express, and included such new and advanced features as an in-dash radio, priced around $1,500, although cheaper, less equipped commercial variants could also be had. The period would also see the introduction of a new class of off-road vehicles, led by the Willys CJ2, or civilian Jeep. Developed for military use, it was four-wheel drive and more of a street-legal ATV than a road vehicle, but it could be had for under $1,100, 130 inches long on an 80-inch wheelbase, and weighing 2,100 pounds. Power came from a 2.2-liter Go Devil inline 4 with up to 60 horsepower. But Willys Overland also offered a 1-ton four-wheel drive Jeep truck, a relative rarity at the time, as a pickup or a wagon. It was 185 inches long on a 118-inch wheelbase and around 3,200 pounds, using the same Go Devil engine. Ford pickup styling separated from their car styling for 1942, but was mechanically unchanged, and would continue beyond the civilian production ban, seeing some military use before returning after the war. Roughly 194 inches long on a 114-inch wheelbase, and powered by a 3.7-liter 226 flathead 6, or 3.9-liter 239 cubic inch flathead V8, with 90 or 100 horsepower. But they would introduce the F-Series truck in 1948, with a base price of around $1,200, down to 189 inches long, in standard F1 form. Engines carried over, but the 6 gained 5 horsepower, available in pickup and van body styles, but there was still some carryover of the car-based tall wagon. The same time, Mercury would get its own version as the M-Series pickup, sold primarily in Canada and starting around $1,500. Differing only in trim, it was the same 189 inches long on a 114-inch wheelbase, using the same 226 and 239 engines. And Mercury was also offering the tall car-based wagon of similar size and powertrains. Dodge was the traditional provider of military trucks, and the job-rated W-Series was no exception, with the basic express pickup using a 116-inch wheelbase and a 70-horsepower 201 or 75-horsepower 218 cubic inch flathead 6, and growing as high as a 133-inch wheelbase with a 9-foot bed, while also offering a suburban wagon, while export models were typically sold under the Fargo brand. In 1946, the four-wheel drive military WC trucks were offered to the public as the Power Wagon for just $1,600, using the same engines, tuned to 85 to 95 horsepower, or a 218 cubic inch or 331 cubic inch diesel with 85 to 102 horsepower, in a variety of body styles from pickup to ambulance. The mainstream trucks were replaced by the B-Series in 1948, with prices starting below $1,300, now offered as a 108-inch wheelbase short bed, 116-inch wheelbase long bed, and a 126-inch wheelbase extended bed. Also available as a wagon, horsepower was now 95 to 108, and the Fargo badge versions carried on. Studebaker's M-Series trucks were made from 1938 to 1952. The base M5 was on a 113-inch wheelbase and powered by an 80-horsepower 2.8-liter, 169 cubic inch Champion straight 6. but bigger models could be had with a 94 horsepower 226 Commander 6 on 120, 128, and 152-inch wheelbases. International Harvester introduced the K-Series, offered in a seemingly endless number of configurations and wheelbases. A mild update for 1947 made them the KB Series, and power came from an overhead valve Blue Diamond 6, which was 4 liters or 242 cubic inches in its smallest form, with an estimated 90 to 95 horsepower. And it was not alone in offering a step van variant, in this case as the Metro van. But car-based pickups were not exactly a thing of the past, with Hudson offering a Commodore pickup through 1947. As such, it was 207 inches long on a 121-inch wheelbase, and powered by a 4.2-liter 254 with 128 horsepower, and priced around $2,000. Even Crosley got into the act with the Model CC, van, wagon, and pickup. Perfect for local delivery services, it was 145 inches long on an 80-inch wheelbase, and weighed around 1,300 pounds. The 724cc inline 4 produced 27 horsepower, and it could be had for under $1,000. Similar car-based pickups could be found in Britain, with Ford UK offering a number of options, from the tiny 23 horsepower 1000cc Anglia at 152 inches long on a 90-inch wheelbase, which was also offered as a van, to the bigger Pilot, which was 175 inches long on a 108-inch wheelbase and powered by a 3.6-liter 221 V8, producing 85 horsepower, also offered as a pickup or a van. Austin also had a utility version of the A70 Hampshire. On a 96-inch wheelbase, it was powered by a 67 horsepower 2.2-liter inline 4. Perhaps the closest thing they had to an American style of light truck was the Bedford HC or JC, introduced in 1938. Offered in a 98 or 105-inch wheelbase, as a pickup or van, early models used a 1200 with nearly 35 horsepower, but a 1400 with close to 40 horsepower was available starting in 1947. But then there was the Land Rover Series 1, introduced in 1948. Inspired by the Willys Jeep, it was 132 inches long and an 80-inch wheelbase, powered by a 1.6-liter inline 4 with 55 horsepower. In France, the Panhard Dyna X was offered as a light van, and sometimes converted to a pickup, 150 inches long on an 80-inch wheelbase, and around 1,400 pounds, and powered by a 610cc Boxer twin with 23 horsepower. But step vans were the more common type of truck in Europe, and Peugeot introduced their first forward control DMA light truck in 1941, and it continued through 1948. In a variety of body styles, it was 184 inches long on a 78-inch wheelbase, and powered by a 2.1-liter engine with 50 horsepower. Citroën had the iconic front-wheel drive unibody H-Type, initially based on the Traction Avant. Base versions were 176 inches long on a roughly 98-inch wheelbase, as there was a slight offset, using a 1.9-liter inline 4 with 55 horsepower, or a 2.9-liter 6 with 76 horsepower. In Germany, the Boehringer Unimog was introduced in 1948, although it would later become a Mercedes, or Daimler-Benz. It was 139 inches long on a 68-inch wheelbase, and weighed 3,900 pounds. Its 1.7-liter diesel produced approximately 25 horsepower. Of course, there were lots of other car-based utes and vans all around Europe, such as the Skoda 1100, typically 160 inches long on a 98-inch wheelbase, and 2,100 to 2,400 pounds, with its inline 4 producing 32 horsepower. In Japan, the post-war Datsun pickup was updated every few months, as post-war parts were being used up, with the 2000 series being the post-war chassis, with various fronts, cabs, and beds, using a 722cc inline 4, producing approximately 16 horsepower. But the fuel shortage there led to the Tashikawa Tama electric vehicle, eventually leading to the Prince brand. It was 126 inches long on a 79-inch wheelbase, available in cargo and passenger versions, and later offering a 760cc gas version. I'm sure there are many more I simply didn't think of, particularly of the pre-crossover car-based variety. If there are any that you can think of, let me know. And as always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to comment below. and like and subscribe.